Hey there troops, it's me TheTacticalBrit, and today I want to talk about Rush returning to Battlefield 5. Now for those of you who don't know, Lightning Strikes kicks off on January 17th, which is the next chapter of Tides of War, which runs all the way up until March, where we get Trial by Fire, which of course introduces Battle for Greece, as well as Firestorm, which is incredibly exciting. Lightning Strikes is its own installment. It's introducing a mission on Combined Arms, which is of course the co-op segment of the game, which you'll all be able to play during January to March. It's also introducing a Grand Operations mission, as well as Squad Conquest, which is exciting to see, especially if RSP becomes a thing. I know a lot of guys in the competitive scene really appreciate Squad Conquest. But what's really important here is the return of Rush. Rush is probably one of the two core pillars I think most people associate with their Battlefield memories. We always had the grand scale of Conquest and the sheer levels of fuckery that Conquest could produce from just pure action. But Rush in particular has always been the pinnacle of the game. And the reason I say that is because most people will come from Bad Company 2 and will come from Battlefield 3 will point towards things like Damavand Peak in Battlefield 3 as being one of the standout gameplay modes where Rush really took a showcase and really made, I think, a lasting impact in the franchise. You know, it gave people an expectation for what Battlefield was all about. It was about intense moments, high-tempo gameplay, action. It was about really outplaying your opponents and being willing to commit towards a grind to break through a deadlocked. It was just all of those things wrapped all in one that made it so impressive. And that's not even to mention Bad Company 2, which of course was pretty much one of the keystones for what Rush was. You know, we had things like Valparaiso, Port Valdez, Harvest Day, Arica Harbor, Isla Innocence. There's so many different maps that you can point to that just go, holy crap, you know, some of these were standout for this game. And I know a lot of them were not always necessarily the best on Rush, but especially some of them really left their mark. And you know, it's no wonder that people ask for things like Damavand Peak remasters, because they're just such interesting maps to play. So with Rush returning, what exactly are we looking for here from Battlefield 5 to really try and emulate some of the things we'd seen in the past? And I think for me personally, it's really about getting the layout of Rush correct and really getting the intensity of Rush correct. I think Rush performs at best and performs its most well when there is a reasonable distance between the two MCOMs. Of course, we don't want any of this nonsense about bringing a bomb to the MCOM. We just want to be able to arm it where it is. It, of course, needs to make a crap ton of noise as well, because there's nothing like hearing the alarm of the MCOM on Battlefield 3. And I really think it's about creating an environment whereby players are forced into really interesting engagements. You know, Rush isn't a game mode where you just, slap two MCOMs in the middle of nowhere and hope for the best. You know, there are points where the MCOMs have to be to give you a bit of diversity as you go between MCOM and MCOM, but also to give you the kind of engagements that are determined by intelligent players. You know, Rush was always a meat grinder. People always ran into each other and just died. But it really took that one person who had an idea of that flank, that kind of, key move, that explosive, that smoke grenade rush. Just something that they would do in particular to really break that deadlock. And that's exactly how Rush should be. It should be defined and catered towards players who are willing to play intelligently and willing to create and break deadlocks based on just their general movement. And I think this creates a really great opportunity in Battlefield 5, especially considering we now have the ability to build. And we've never really had that in Battlefield before, and I think that's something that could really add a new dynamic to Rush by definitely allowing players to reinforce the MCOMs and really get some machine gun placements, other things like sandbags, of course, and gullies and trenches laid down in the framework. And I think what Rush really needs in Battlefield 5 is a slow start. I don't think we need to rush into making, 6 or 7 maps immediately available to play Rush, because ultimately 3 or 4 of them will be done badly. I think we should focus on doing Rush one map at a time, really getting the layout correct, really getting it done right. I think Devastation of Rotterdam has a really good example where there could be interesting Rush MCOMs. I think, for example, if you take the sort of general layout of Devastation, there are 3 main lanes. You've got the central lane, which runs between the church. You've got the left-hand lane, which runs between some of the smaller objectives, and the right-hand lane, which also runs between things like the theatre and other smaller objectives. And I think if you dedicate yourself to 2 of those lanes, space out the MCOMs a bit, you really could have some interesting dynamics of gameplay. I think the same applies to things like Rotterdam, where infantry gameplay is going to be absolutely insane. But I also feel as though there are other maps that desperately could use some rush attention. I think Twisted Steel definitely poses a good example of a place that could do well with that kind of layout. And I don't see any reason why any of the maps in Battlefield 5 necessarily couldn't do well with Rush. I think maybe, Armada or Panzerstorm would struggle, but I think other maps in particular would do incredibly well in accommodating the layout that's expected and creating those interesting environments. So troops, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Are you excited for the return of Rush to Battlefield 5? Is this something you're hyped about? And what map do you see Rush fitting best? As always, troops, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again soon in the next video.